Bold probably isn't the first word that comes to mind when you see a lovely little Hillman Minx like this one. But this is part of the Audax Minx series, launched in 1956, and Audax is Latin for bold. Now, Rootes Group had bold plans for this car. They wanted to do international export all over the world with it, for it to become a global superstar and a sales success. But did it work? Well, we're going to take this delightful 1966 Minx for a drive and find out. On the domestic market, Rootes had always struggled against the might of Ford and BMC. They'd unfortunately often played third fiddle. So, aiming to boost their sales figures, Rootes targeted the international market. The key was to export, and particularly to America. By the time their new Audax Hillman Minx reached US shores in 1957, it had done so at the perfect time. At that point, America was going through a fuel shortage as a result of the ongoing Suez Canal crisis. And that meant that a compact car that was economical but still looked broadly like big American land barges was just what America was after. They lapped up the new Minx in their thousands. In fact, 10% of all 1957 Hillman Minxes produced went stateside. Buoyed by that initial success, Rootes then took the car on a marketing tour of Europe, going through France, Germany and Austria to show off their new global superstar. They even sold the rights to produce the Minx to Isuzu in Japan. With such grandiose plans for export then, Rootes had to produce a good car here. They invested £1.75 million in an engine plant to produce their all-new overhead valve four-cylinder engine. It was actually trialled in the Series 5 version of the previous shape Hillman Minx, but by the time it came out in this Audax Minx, it was piloting around a much smaller, lighter body shell, and that meant it could show its true colours. Initially launched in 1.4 litre 51 horsepower, guys, the new overhead valve engine was a sweetie. Eager, keen to rev, and it gave you all it could willingly all the way through the rev range. And it was economical too. Journalists reported achieving over 30 miles to the gallon with the new engine, way better than you got from the comparatively archaic side valve engine that Ford could offer you. Oh, sweet little engine. And the engine was only half the story. Being built on unibody monocoque construction meant that the Audax cars had a low, flat floor, and that means a really spacious, roomy cabin for such a small car. I've got loads of headroom, I've got loads of leg room and arm room, and there's plenty of space in the back for my rear passengers. What's more, that flat floor means you've got a big boot and space for a big fuel tank. In every way, this was a technically impressive car. With one eye on creating the sporty Sunbeam Rapier down the line, Rootes made sure the Audax platform was underpinned with competent suspension. So it's relatively comfortable. You notice I'm not bouncing around all over the place, but also it's a fun little car to chuck around. The steering's sharp and direct, certainly for a 60s family saloon car, and it's not a roly-poly blancmange on the tight twisty bits. It feels nimble and agile. It really is a genuinely fun and easy car to drive quickly. Puts a smile on your face. So the new Hillman Minx then was an all-round winner. It looked the part, it was spacious, it was practical and comfortable, it was economical, it was lively enough to go onto those newfangled motorways. And on the twisty country lanes, it was good fun to chuck around. And what's more, Rootes didn't rest on their laurels with this car. The Minx got yearly facelifts and updates, each one designated a new series to keep the look fresh. Over time, the overhead valve engine evolved right up to what we've got in this car, a 1725cc engine. Later in life, you got an automatic gearbox, which was almost unknown for a car so small and so cheap. And even today, it holds up, it shifts smoothly, kicks down when you need it to. It was a good automatic gearbox. And Rootes got their money's worth out of the Audax platform. Not only was it used for the Minx in saloon, estate and convertible guys, but you got the Sunbeam Rapier, the Singer Gazelle, the Sunbeam Alpine sports car and the Comma Cobb van. You name it, and Rootes found a way to use the Audax platform to make it. Because there were so many cars and so many badges and so many models and markets underpinned by the Audax platform, it's hard to say exactly how many total units were produced. But we can safely say it's into the hundreds of thousands. The Audax platform was an all-round success for Roots Group, and it all started with the little Hillman Minx. So if the Audax Minx was such a winner then, why don't we really hear about them or see them today? Unfortunately, the answer's simple. Because it had been in production for over 10 years by the time it was killed off, and despite Roots' continued attempts to modernise it with more engines and facelifts, it was still an old car by that point, and Ford and BMC had very much caught up. The slow and rather painful demise of Roots Group in the late 70s and early 80s also meant they very quickly became unfashionable, and parts support was almost non-existent. And because of that, the aftermarket and the club support for Roots cars these days isn't enormous, certainly not compared to its BMC and Ford rivals. You will struggle to find a Hillman Minx, or indeed any of the Audax cars. But you should, because not only is it a fantastic little car in its own right and still a totally usable classic car today, but it's something different. It's charming, it puts a smile on your face, and you stand out from the classic car crowd. Go on, be bold.